so many of you in the comments. Hello, how are you all? Again, as with this morning, we're on an experimental setup here, so let me know if you can hear me, okay? And if you can see me. I feel like Lockhart. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? I hope you can. I think there's a tiny bit of a delay as well, so yay, I'm back. Hello. Okay, that's good. That's good confirmation that I'm here. So just so we're all aware, because this is a completely experimental setup in terms of, let's mute the computer before notifications start happening. This is a completely experimental setup. So the webcam that I'm using right now is actually the webcam that is, on my laptop, and it's not the best lighting in the world. So if this is going to be a regular thing that we're all going to be doing during our lockdown period, then I will invest in a better webcam for you all, and probably some studio lights, because this makes me look very shiny, and I promise I'm not this shiny, honest, I swear. You're very pink. I am very pink. I am very pink, Sarah. I don't think the fact that I'm wearing a red shirt is helping my white balance at all. Let's see if we can. I don't think we're helping it. I don't think we're changing it. We will invest in a better webcam. I agree with the pink comment. Yeah, it's very pink. I will play with it more. I don't think it was this bad when I went live as an experiment with my patrons. But hey ho, it can. Oh, hello from Skegness, Helen. Wow. We've got Australia in the house. Boise, Aberdeen. Wow, you're from everywhere, but there's a lot of you from Scotland, so that's quite nice actually. Usually I feel like I'm on my own, and I'm like, let's see how much we can scale the accent down. Just a few more notches. Oh no, the sound went wonky. Is it still wonky? The sound is not as good as before. Okay, hold on. Is this better? How's that? There's a delay in the chat, so I'm just going to have to wait and see what you guys say. Bristol in Iceland and New Zealand. Crikey. France. Yay. Oh no. It's better. Is that yes it is echoing, or yes it's better? It's muffled. Okay, let's see what we can do about it. Is that a little bit better? So annoying. Okay, how's that? Maybe it did. Maybe it did disconnect. I can always, if it doesn't get any better, I can end the stream and come back. How is it, babe? Bugger. That's what I say to that. We didn't have this earlier, so maybe it happened when I moved the screen. Great. Can we persevere with it, or is it awful? If it's awful, I can end and come back. Sound like I'm in a tin can. I think we all feel a bit like that right now. Okay, we're going to persevere with it then. Right, first of all, how is everybody feeling? We did this morning, and we just did a little check-in. I was really quite chipper this morning, and in fact we went out for some fresh air earlier on, and that was really nice. I think fresh air is definitely helpful in this situation. But in terms of news and things, the UK has had a little bit more news. So obviously we're getting like a late evening press conferencey thing every day. And one of the things that we got was, of course, that bars and things like that were being told to close down, which, thank you. But also a few other things have changed that will probably directly affect us. Lovely Life Helen is a driving instructor, and all of the UK tests have been cancelled for the next 3 months. So that's probably going to affect us a little bit, at least over the next little while. So I'm a little bit more anxious tonight, but do you know what? I feel like it's going in waves. I feel like we're all having waves of it, where we're like okay for 5 minutes, and then we're like, oh, there was news, and then we're okay again. So how are we all? Let's see, how is everybody? Yeah, we are little sardine babies. I know, I'm so sorry that it's so pink, but it's not the bestest of webcams. I will definitely invest in a new webcam should we do this more often. Our bars and restaurants are closed. Yeah. People have been fined here because they were having a barbecue with 20 or 30 people. Yeah, it's quite overwhelming, I think. And I think I was saying this morning on the stream. I feel like we have to try and remind ourselves that the newspapers and the news sites and stuff, although they're bringing us news that we desperately need, and they're, kind of a lifeline right now, they're also there to sell news, right? So the sensational headlines are going to keep coming. The sort of propaganda headlines are going to keep coming. The headlines that are telling us that, oh, it's going to be 18 months, that they're going to keep coming. And I think it's important that we all kind of go and decide which pieces of information we're going to take in and which pieces of information we're just going to let go. I think it's that analogy about being a good listener, where temporarily when you're listening to somebody, you hold all of the information in your hands, but then when you're done with the conversation, you don't then carry that burden and add it to yours. You let it go. And I think it's something I'm trying to train myself to do with news. So I'm rationing myself in the morning, in the evening, and our Boris press conference in the afternoons, because otherwise I think we'll all go stir crazy when there might not be any need for immediate panic in the moment, but we're going to drive ourselves towards it. Let me see. Oh, hi from Portugal, Chloe. I saw that somebody had been arrested in the Isle of Man. I think it was quite a young guy. I think he was like 26 or something like that, and he just got to the island, and they're asking everybody to go into a hotel, like very clean facility. But I mean, obviously it's not a hotel, you're not getting bed and breakfast, but like a clean facility for 14 days just to make sure that they don't bring anything to the island. And he chose not to, quite definitely, from what I read. So oh, Maria, I think that's a good idea. Going for a long walk with the doggies. The puppers are definitely getting exercise during this. And I think it's also kind of nice, right? Because when you're like social distancing, I think one of the things
that, I mean, not personally for me because I'm an introvert who now loves the fact that I don't work in offices, but I know a lot of people are missing like the little micro interactions that you get when you bump into somebody, or it's somebody like brushing past your shoulder or something like that that you miss. And I think being able to like go for a walk and see somebody across a park and like wave to them is quite nice, so that it doesn't feel like you're quite as alone. Stay distracted full time with hobbies. That is definitely a good plan. I mean, it's nice as well in that what I do now, now that I'm doing illustration full time and things like that, and running my store, it's nice because my hobby kind of is also my livelihood. So it's nice to think, A, I'm being completely distracted now, but B, it's actually for a purpose. I'm not just distracting myself from news, I'm distracting myself from news, and also I will eventually buy us chocolate at the end of it with the pennies. Please do this more often. I will definitely try. If you guys are enjoying this, I am completely here for it. I think it's a good way to just feel like not only are you not on your own, but there's so many other people in the chat who are in similar situations, and we're so spread out. And even when this starts to calm down, because it is finite, I guess we have to remember that there is an end to this eventually. It is finite, and once it is, we can have celebration reading parties together too. Just trying to catch up with your comments. Oh yeah, I do feel bad for people with kids who are getting cabin fever as well. Oh, Emma, I'm sorry you had a cry, but I think sometimes cry is cathartic, right? We like, especially in Britain, we have this idea that like crying is a bad thing, but sometimes having a bit of a cry is a good thing. It like your body needs to release the anxiety somehow, and that's quite a positive way for me anyway, because then once it's out, I'm like, okay, it's out. I can move on with my day now. Starting to eat Pop-Tarts. Well, I think that's an A++ coping skill right there. Yeah, Dana, I definitely think that we have to remember that news is a business as much as it is a public service. Definitely. Oh, there we go. You did your first volunteer read at the Children's Hospital Radio today. Oh, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's a great choice. We talked about this morning on the stream about kind of getting lost a little bit in middle grade fiction. Everybody's kind of finding this weird urge to reach for middle grade fiction, and also romance fiction. I'm seeing a huge upsurge and people telling me that they have picked up things that they would never read before, like not just like Mills and Boon sort of body strippers, although there's nothing wrong with that if that's your thing, but like things like Tessa Dare and why is everybody's names escaping me right now? Julia Quinn, that kind of thing. And I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. My brain has gone fully into the Tessa Dare void. I am in there. I am buying all the books. I am listening to all the books. Has anybody else found that? Has anybody else picked up escapism reading that they wouldn't otherwise probably have picked up? Oh, Tina, that is hard. That's really hard. Although also having difficult conversations about what happens to your loved ones and your pets and things like that in the event that you do end up in hospital for a couple of weeks and things. Because we remember as well, apart from the fact that there is this awful illness and there is a hospitalisation period, for many people that varies from a couple of days to a couple of weeks, and so there's still a big period before it gets to the scary words at the very end. I think it's a good thing that we talk about stuff like that. That makes me want to recommend Caitlin Doughty books. That makes me want to recommend Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I don't know if you guys have read any Caitlin Doughty. She has a channel on YouTube called Ask a Mortician, and it is literally her experience with sort of the American death industry, I guess, and how she became a mortician and a crematorium worker, and then her fascination with our fascination and also our terror about what happens. And it gave me a lot of comfort. I'm one of these people who more information is always better for me. I always feel more in control with more information, but I also know that could be a bit triggery for people. But if you're somebody who is looking for I guess a way to make sense of some stuff, that's definitely where I would go with it. Oh, I just heard a loud bang, guys. I'll be back in just 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Mystery solved. The dogs managed to knock over a water bowl, and then they all freaked out because the tinny noise of the water bowl scared them all, and they knocked over the dining room chair. And I could hear lovely wife Helen like, "Stop it! It's all right. Stop that! Come back here." So I just thought I had better go and help. Oh, good. You've been chatting without me. That's what I like to see. I'm out of breath now because I ran down the stairs. Yay, oh yes, so Caitlin's channel is great as well, if anybody is interested. God, I'm so out of breath, that's terrible. Caitlin's channel is definitely a good place to go if you're not squeamish, not that there's gore that she shows, but she does talk about things in some graphic detail. And B, if you like a bit of a darker chuckle sometimes, she does some videos that talk about the history of dead, very, very famous people, and like Eva Peron, what happened to her body afterwards and things like that. Got cat hair in my lipstick. We're super classy here. We're just super classy. What is my Hogwarts house? Okay, guess what my Hogwarts house is. I'm covering, I don't know whether you saw it when I ran downstairs, but I'm covering my flag in the background, which sits in the background of my videos sometimes. I'm covering up my house flag. What do you guys think my Hogwarts house is? Maria, I will definitely give the dogs a kiss from you. Possibly not right now because they've just had their dinner and they're probably a bit gooey. But later, I definitely will. Oh yeah, cozy reading night. I literally have never managed to make a cozy reading night yet. It's like every time Lauren sends out a date, I'm like, oh, can I do that? No, I'm doing another thing. I'm doing another thing then. I'll just sit here in the background with my FOMO and do my self care all on my own. Hey, yeah, definitely. I like that. I like that not a single person was like, yeah, it's either going to be like Ravenclaw or Slytherin. Yeah, guys, I'm a stone cold Slytherin. And not necessarily, I, I don't necessarily associate myself with the like ambition thing, but when it comes to like the tenacity and the sheer cunning to succeed, I think I'll fit myself into that somewhere. I gotta love a gooey puppy. No, no, we don't. We don't. So, my next question then is, what is everybody reading tonight? So I was talking on the stream this morning about the things that I'm reading. I am meant to be following my TBR for this month, and I kind of am with some little detours. And I'm meant to be playing Stack It, where I just read the books, in order. And I'm a trash human, but do you know what? There's a global crisis going on right now. So I'm going to be kind to my brain. So the first thing that I'm reading right now is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. You can all throw shade in the comments for the fact that it has taken me 2 years to get to this book. I am aware, like I said, I have no delusion. I know that I am a trash human. So this was one of my besties my TBR picks, and the lovely Simone's from Me, Simone and I picked this for me after Kirsty, who is my podcast partner in crime, picked it like 2 years ago, solidly 2 years ago. And I just kept not getting to it, and I don't know why. It's utterly fabulous. So the blurb on this one is a little bit misleading. This is about a woman whose sister went missing many, many years ago, and she has always kind of accepted the theories that came out of her going missing, and she's just sort of had to come to terms with the information that they had. And then more girls start to go missing, and she is contacted and told that the information that she had is not quite the truth. But as with all other Karen Slaughter books, there is like 3 other threads running through this that all come together. And what I've discovered is that there's actually 2 sets of characters kind of running concurrently in this who have both lost people. And then there's a third voice, a male voice, and we don't know who he is yet, but he has also lost his daughter. So we're waiting for all of the 3 threads to come together, and it's really great. I'm really enjoying it. It's super fast paced. When I started reading this was when the whole news media kicked off and the world started to end. So I was struggling to concentrate on print, and I ended up switching to audiobook. And the audiobook narrator is amazing. She is so adorable. She does the best Southern accent to me, to my Scottish ear. She does a good Southern American accent. I mean, make of that what you will. But it's really, really good so far. So I'm about halfway through, and I'm absolutely loving it. And on the stream earlier, I picked up one of the last books that I've got left from my TBR, and that's White Cat by Holly Black. I've read this one before. This one was picked by Ellis, and she picked it completely blind. She didn't know that I had read it before. I have the whole series on my shelf. And this one is one that I was absolutely obsessed with when I picked it up. I can't remember whether I picked it up before or after I read the Spiderwick Chronicles, which, by the way, if you're looking for middle grade, which is going to pull you out of yourself, then that is definitely a place to go. But when I read this one, I could not stop talking about it. I literally could not stop talking about it. And then somewhere in between reading this and getting the next 2, in physical form on my shelves, I didn't go any further. I didn't read them. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened. So I decided to reread this one. Oh, cat hair. Again, I said that earlier. I should have cleaned the desk off of cat hair before I started. Hold on. We will fix this. No product placement here. No product placement. Very Scottish with Iron Brew. Has anybody tried Iron Brew? Please tell me. So this one is about Cassell, who lives in a world where there are some powers. Some people are curse workers, and there's 5 different varieties of that, all the way from being able to take somebody's luck away from them to being able to control somebody's body without them knowing. And so everybody has to wear gloves in this world. Again, weirdly pertinent to the situation right now. Everybody has to wear gloves so that you can tell that nobody's touching you and nobody's working you. And Cassell believes that in his family, who are all curse workers, he's the only one who isn't. And you also are told pretty much on the very first page that he has murdered a girl, that he murdered a 14-year-old girl, and that he doesn't remember any of it except for the bit where he was standing over her at the end, and that he has a weird feeling of having enjoyed it in the back of his head, which doesn't sit well with who he is as a person. And so this is what happens as he finds himself sleepwalking all of a sudden on the roof of his dorms, and from then his life somewhat spirals. I remember the twist in this one, and I was so obsessed with it. It was just, oh, it's so good. And now, because I can remember the twist and I'm reading it back, I'm like, I know stuff. I see what you're doing there. So I picked up this one on stream earlier and just started it. And then the last one that I'm reading right now, I told you I'm a trash human. I've got 3 books on the go. The last one that I'm reading right now is Bloom by Nicola Skinner. I don't know why that name won't stick in my head or not. I found this completely randomly when I was searching for middle grade on my birthday, because I was like, I have the sense, this was before everything shut down, I was like, I have the sense that I should probably pick up some things that are going to be nice to my brain. A random cat in the background. This one is a middle grade book about a girl called Sorrel Fallowfield, and one of the things that I'm not sure about this is whether it's meant to be set in our world but a slightly fantastical version thereof, or if it's meant to be set in a world all on its own. But either way, Sorrel lives in a world where everybody's quite poor in her village, in her town, and they're all kind of under the thumb of a big corporation. And she goes to a school called Gritty Snits, and at Gritty Snits, a lot of the girls have families who are employed by this big corporation, and there's very much a dividing line between the middle of them. And she really wants to win a prize for being the most perfect student in the whole school, which could change her family's life. And one day she has a really bad day at school. She comes back home, she goes down the bottom of her garden, very stompy, and the patio breaks open, and under the patio she finds a packet of magic seeds, and it's about what she does with her time after she finds the magic seeds. And it's really, I like the author's tone. I was saying this earlier. I like the author's tone. I really enjoy Sorrel as a character. She's very funny, but in a kind of series of unfortunate events, kind of dry, humoury funny. But then the tone changes, and it feels like I'm reading Roald Dahl, and it's more kind of morally. And so I don't think that the author knows what she wants this to be necessarily. And I keep thinking, right, we're in this world, everything's normal except for the magic seeds. And then I'm like, oh wait, we're in a different world where people like Trunchbull exist, and we're in a sort of fantastical high school and middle school. And I don't know what I think about this one. I want to really like it. I think I would pick up other things that Nicola Skinner has read, but I suspect I'm not going to rate this one very highly. Okay, so now that I've raved about what I'm reading, let me read what you guys are saying in the comments. Lauren, that is a very pertinent title. Lauren is reading a book called Everything is Effed, a book about hope by Mark Manson. That is definitely a pertinent book for right now. Oh, Maria, you're reading Lethal White. 150 pages left. What do you think so far? Are you enjoying it? Come Tumbling Down is sitting next to me. And I saw earlier, just before I hit go live on the stream, that somebody was reading Layer of Dreams, and I also have Layer of Dreams sitting with a bookmark in it. And what happened was, after I read The Diviners for my vlog, was it the end of last month or the start of this month? I don't remember. I immediately went on to Layer of Dreams and started reading it. And then I did it must have been the end of last month, because then I did my March TBR. And so then I ended up doing that instead. And so it has got a bookmark in it, and I have started it, and it is amazing so far. And I'm not going to lie, all that my head wants to do is read this and nothing else, but I'm absolutely determined that I'm going to get most of my TBR done for this month, because now, if not when, am I going to get a full TBR done? You're right. We think this situation might be a reason for throwing your TBR out of the window. That's fair. That's quite good advice, I think. Oh, I hate being in between books, Tony. I hate starting new books. So I want to just be in the middle of things. I got hate Leanne for listening to books. According to book snobs, listening to books is not reading. So snobby and unwanted criticism. Okay, so here's my opinion on this entire thing. If you read a book to your child, do you then say that your child hasn't read the book? No. If a teacher reads a book to a child, do you then say that the child has not read the book? No. If a blind person listens to an audiobook and has not got the ability to access that book any other way, do you tell them that they haven't read the book? No. I really have never understood the weird shade that people give people for reading via audiobooks. And that's funny, because that's the way I say it, that you're reading via an audiobook, or you're reading via an ebook, or you're reading in physical copy. I've never understood people who look down on people who only listen to audiobooks. People take in information in different ways, and sometimes my brain cannot physically focus on a text on a page, whether it's in a book or in an ebook, because my brain is not there. Everything gets really quiet when I read a book, and sometimes when I'm anxious, my brain's constantly going, I'm not focusing on the words on a page. So sometimes an audiobook is the only way that I can get through a book. And in case you guys didn't know this, I have mentioned it in previous videos and things, but lovely wife Helen suffers really, really badly from dyslexia, which was undiagnosed for a long time in her life. And she finds it physically torturous to read physical books. So she listens to everything that she reads on audiobook. I've got a random cat. She listens to everything that she reads on audiobook, and so she wouldn't have it any other way other than me reading to her, which again you wouldn't say is that person not having read the book. It's very odd. I've never really understood why physically reading a book is the only way that people think we can take in stories, because I think that people forget that stories originated from oral storytelling, and because that's a thing that we don't do as much in our society now, people forget that that was where books came from. That's why we write books, because we learned to orally tell stories, and oral storytelling is audiobooks. I mean, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to the Owls in April as well. The Owls readathon in April. I have so many things planned. So in case you guys didn't know, if you're looking for a readathon right now, on the 21st and the 22nd, so tomorrow and Sunday, there is a 24 and 48 hour readathon going on, which is where you read for 24 hours across 48 hours. I've never successfully completed it, even though I have taken part in many of them. And I'm going to be trying to read all of the short books that I'm terrified of, that I did a video about this week. And then the week after, I am going to be doing my own little solo readathon of 5 thrillers that lovely wife Helen and I have picked off of my shelf and kind of both of us have predicted what star rating I'm going to give it and how I'm going to rank them, and so we're going to see whether that's true or not. And so I think the way that I'm just going to get through this is just to take part in as many readathons as possible and just force myself to read as many books. Oh, hi, Kirsty from Florida. You are absolutely welcome. I have been loving talking to you guys. It has been great fun. What does Iron Brew taste like? Sugar. Iron Brew is a really weird one because I think even if you try and describe the taste of Coke, you can kind of, like Coca-Cola, Coke, you can kind of describe that, or like, Sprite tastes like lemons. It tastes kind of like it is made by Swizzles. So if any of you guys have had any kind of UK sort of taffy candy, it's really hard until you chew on it for an hour and then it's just really, really sweet candy. That's pretty much exactly what Iron Brew tastes like. I love it. It's very Scottish, but I can guarantee you there's nothing in there that's good for you, except for your brain. Oh yay, other people have Iron Brew. It's not just me. I was being very basic Scottish bitch there. I love that you guys are so chatty. It's making me happy. I wish I could get into audiobooks. Can't seem to concentrate enough because English is not my first language yet, Eva. I think that would be difficult. I wonder if doing things would also help you, because one of the things that Lovely Wife Helen often tells me is that if she's not physically active when she's listening, or if she's not doing another thing, so generally when she's listening to an audiobook or if I'm reading to her, she is either cooking or she's driving or she's doing gardening, she's walking the dog. She is usually doing something else when she's listening, and I think it definitely engages a different part of your brain. Like I tend to, when I'm drawing, I tend to listen to audiobooks, or if I'm making like the cloth bookmarks for my store or something like that and I have to use my hands, then I'll listen to audiobooks. But also right now I think there's definitely a case to be made for just calm and quiet and not inputting anything into our heads. I saw a post earlier on today that was looking for ASMR recommendations just for background noise, because we're all in our houses right now. So if you are looking for that, I recommend ASMR Rooms on YouTube, who have a Harry Potter playlist, which is amazing, including one which is the Three Broomsticks, which has the sound of glasses, I guess like goblets, and people talking in the background and like footsteps and things like that, especially if you're missing like working from a cafe or something like that. That's definitely what I put on in the background. How scary is the Diviners? Malin, it's not too scary. It depends. If you are somebody who can put up with thriller level scary, but not horror level scary, you'll be fine. There are some bits that are creepy, but they're not scary, I would say. There are some like ominous bits and some bits that are because it's technically sort of like paranormal, supernatural, I guess. There are some bits that deal with ghosts and things like that. And so I'm not going to say it's like not creepy, but like on a scale of books, I would put like horror here, thrillers here, and the Diviners somewhere like here. So it's not too bad. Don't give yourself a hard time about it. Any reading is good reading. So here's my rule, and I've said this 100 times before. My rule is that any reading is good reading. So whether you are reading kids' picture books, whether you're listening to audiobooks, whether you're physically reading a copy of Anna Karenina, which is this thick and I'm terrified of, and it's downstairs and let's not talk about it. But no matter what you're reading, it's reading. The only things I don't count on my Goodreads are things that don't have ISBN codes. Those are literally the only things that I don't count. God, random cats. Random cats. I can feel people playing with my ankles and I'm like, what is that? All reading is good reading, no matter what you pick up. It's valid. And if it makes you feel happy, then nobody else gets to comment on that. I listen to Harry Potter to sleep. That's great. I listen to, I have an app that does rain noises, so I fall asleep to thunderstorms every night. My Robin Hobb shelf looks glorious. Oh, hi, Bemused Bookworm. I'm glad you found the channel. That's so nice. It's nice to see new people stopping into streams. Rachel, you have tea. I had tea this morning. I had 2 tea deliveries from lovely wife Helen this morning in the middle of the stream. That was wife goals right there. Yes, getting through a book regardless of format is reading. That's right. And it doesn't matter what kind of length of book or what genre of book. It's like saying, I saw a thing a couple of years ago which was like reading plays is not reading because it's not prose. And I'm like who decided that? Who decided that? There's a line in, what's the name? The name of the show? Eve. That's going to annoy me. Hold on, I'm going to have to Google it. Wait a minute. Killing Eve, that's it. Why did I not think? Why did that go? There's a line in Killing Eve where she turns up. She turns up at a Turkish restaurant, I think it is, and she's like, well, this is a totally obvious choice for breakfast. And her boss, Carolyn, is like, breakfast is just, it's all eggs. I mean, who decided? And that's been my view on everything ever since. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a stupid rule. Who decided that? The Three Broomsticks is awesome. I listened to it while writing. Oh, Tina, what are you writing? I want to know. Oh, I love Joe Abercrombie's books, but yeah, you're definitely right. It is grim dark fantasy. It's definitely one of those where as you're reading it, it's like, oh, another bad thing is happening. Okay. Oh, okay, another bad thing is happening. I recommend Terry Pratchett if you're looking for fantasy. And everybody always asks, so I recommend starting with Guards if you like thrillers, or Weird Sisters if you like witches and more traditional fantasy themes. Let's see. Spill the tea. What is my opinion on Stephen King? You want to get into horror, but you can't get into his works without shouting internally. Okay, so I only started reading Stephen King a couple of years ago, and there's a lot about Stephen King that there is not to like, right? He politically is a bit, he's very white middle-aged man, and there's a lot of things. There's a lot of, let's just be honest. There's a lot of fat phobia, a lot of male chauvinism, a lot of women as objects, and a lot of anybody who is on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum is specifically only there to be abused for the novel. So I understand everybody's criticisms about Stephen King, and I think it's one of those things when everybody tells me, oh, but he's my favourite author, I'm like, well, that's fine. You can still have favourites that are problematic as long as you acknowledge that the thing that is your favourite is problematic, right? So it's fine. I love Pet Sematary. That is an amazing novel, but it is much shorter than all of his other things. I have read it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I have read a couple of his short story collections, but again, like you, I kind of think that everything needs to be about 100 pages shorter, and it needed to be about like 200 pages shorter, but I still love the reading experience, so it's a hard one. If you want to get into horror, okay, so there's Bird Box, which is a very obviously popular and a very well loved novel by Josh Malerman, which is about some people who something goes on outside, and there are hundreds of theories as to what happens, but if you go outside of your house and you see the whatever it is, it drives people mad. So people have been forced into their houses. I'm just realizing how triggery this might be. I'll get off this bit quickly. People are forced into their houses and they can't go outside without blindfolds on. And it's a very ominous novel. So Bird Box is where I send a lot of people when they're new to horror. I also love Hex by Thomas Oldie Huvelt, which is about a town in America which is haunted by the physical body of a witch who was burned many, many, many years before, and she's cursed the town. So if you or your descendants leave the town, you die essentially, but if you stay there, you'll be fine. And Hex is literally the name of the security services they have set up to make it look like, because obviously tourists and people come to this town, to make it look like the witch is just another sort of street performer slash crazy old lady slash whatever they need at the time. It's really engaging. It does go off the deep end a little bit right at the end. Of course, there's Lockwood and Co. You guys know that I'm obsessed with Lockwood and Co. I don't think I really need to talk too much about that one, do I? Essentially, YA series following a group, an agency that deals with getting rid of ghosts, which are slowly taking over England, and only people under the age of like 21 can see them. So although these agencies are run by adults, only the kids are actually the ones in the line of fire. And so there's one particular agency that's just run by the kids themselves called Lockwood and Co. It's insane. There's a lot of hijinks. There's a skull in the jar. It's great. Okay, and I'll go one more, and I'll say I'm trying to stay away from anything with plagues or apocalypses or anything like that. Now, I'll say We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I am now not a massive Shirley Jackson fan. Weirdly, I have recently discovered that younger me was very enamored with Shirley Jackson, and older me is just kind of like, yeah, get on with it. However, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. No one will ever take Mary Cat away from me. It's about the Blackwood family, which now only consists of 2 sisters, and they are basically locked in voluntarily into their old English mansion. And one of the sisters was accused of poisoning the rest of the family at a dinner party, and she has only just sort of been released home. And the 2 sisters live in this big rambling Edwardian mansion, all on their own, and they have to make trips into town for food and things like that, but nobody comes near them, and there's a big divide in the town over this big house that used to be, the big house that provided all of the assistance to the town, and now the town's going downhill, and it's really creepy and really short and really ominous, so I like that one too. And now I'm going to stop talking and read your comments. Anna Karenina was good. War and Peace. I haven't read War and Peace. I love big chunky classics. So Stephen King, my favorite author. Yes, I mean, as I say, loads of people love Stephen King, and I totally stand behind that. I mean, loads of people. We were talking about this earlier. Loads of people love Brandon Sanderson. I personally can get on with his books. But that's, Brandon Sanderson is one of those people where his politics are a little bit questionable, and some of his characters are a little bit problematic, but it's okay for that still to be your favourite book series. You're allowed to like problematic things as long as we acknowledge that they're problematic. I think probably people are going to drop off the stream now if I start flagging Stephen King. I don't mean it, honest. to recommend. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. That's one that I keep getting recommendations for, Lauren. Morgaine, Hex was bad. Oh no, you didn't like it. I really, really like Hex, but the ending jumps off a cliff. There's no way to put it any plainer. The ending definitely dives off a cliff. I think I get the impression that the author kind of like wrote himself into a corner and was like, now what? Ooh, the audiobook of Hex. I never thought about that. How's the audiobook? Hi, Cota from Brisbane. But someone glares at dogs had an accident in the kitchen overnight. Oh, girl, that is possibly the most relatable thing you could possibly have said right now. Yay, Cheryl's got the first Lockwood & Co. I love the other one about the parasite. What's the name? What are we to? Have I missed something in the comments, Cara? Elmere, you have to read Screaming Staircase. Nobody can have a Lockwood & Co. book in their house and not read it right now. I'm judging you. No, I'm not judging you, honestly. I have so many books on my shelf that I'm like, Yes, Valerie, I do read a lot of true crime. I read a whole lot of true crime. Right now, my absolute favourite true crime ever is The Fact of a Body by Alexandra Marzano-Lesnevich, which is a memoir by a lawyer, and when she was a lawyer in training, and in her last year, she was sent on an assignment which was part of like her class credits, and she was sent to a centre who looks at the convictions of people on death row, and she was played a video which was a confession by a child killer and molester, I think is how it was actually put to her at the time, Ricky Langley, and it triggers something in her mind that makes her think about her own childhood and things that have happened in her own childhood, and her memoir / her investigation of this case kind of intertwine, and you start to find out all of these really significant secrets about what happened in her life. And so yeah, that one's definitely up there. Another one that I really, really love is My Sister Millie by Gemma Dowler. So Millie Dowler is a very famous case here in the UK of a little girl who was walking home from school alone, and she had just literally left her friends, and she just got in contact to say that she was heading home, and somewhere in the 5 minutes between the train station and her house she went missing, and there was no CCTV, there was no witnesses, there was nothing for a very, very, very long time, and unfortunately she was later found dead. And this is the pretty much from the moment that the Dowlers realise anything is missing all the way up until the present day. Her sister has told this story about her abduction and about what it did to the family and about what the media did to the family, because this was one of the biggest, sort of the first biggest child abduction case in the UK, that was like one singular child and with no explanation. It obsessed the UK media for such a long time, and it is an amazing book, but it is a harrowing book. It's a really difficult read, but I really, really loved it. Let me think of one more. The Sleep of Reason, which is a book written about the James Bulger case, who was a very little boy. I can't remember what age he was, like 4 or 5, I think. Maybe a little bit younger than that. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I read it. I think I read it a couple of years ago now. And he was in a shopping centre, a mall, with his mum, and she let go of his hand for 2 seconds at a counter to pay for something, turned around and he was gone. And he was actually abducted by 2 10-year-old boys who took him across the city, and he was killed horrifically. And it's another one that's really obsessed the UK, because they're like, how could a child kill another child? And it's one of those cases that won't go away, because things now keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And it's from a journalist's point of view who had sort of access to the case at the time and quite close access to the family, and he then later has written this book, and he really looks at it in a really 3D way. It's a very sort of consuming look at the case, because you're looking at the backgrounds of the kids who have done it as well, and at their parents' backgrounds, and at how their economic backgrounds got them to this point, and then the nature nurture argument. And it's fascinating. It's a fascinating book. I'm so sorry that I'm just recommending you books, which I'm sure you're all. I've got pen and paper here for writing down books that you're recommending me, so don't worry, we're in the same situation. Tony, as soon as I said Skull in a Jar, you were like, yeah. Oh, Sarah, it's good that you picked up the books from the podcast, but also I'm sorry that you've picked up so many books from the podcast. Kirsty reads so much more than me. So if you guys ever do like run out of my recommendations in my videos, absolutely check out my podcast, which is in all of the links on my channel. All of my videos have those links in them. Because Kirsty reads a hell of a lot more than me, and we have a lot of bumper recommendation episodes on there. So what thrillers would I recommend? Okay, let's see. Favorite thrillers. Okay, so one that I don't talk about nearly enough is Dead Girls by Abigail Tartellin, and it is the story of a little girl and her best friend, and it's set in the 90s, so sort of in the middle of the whole Spice Girl girl power thing going on. And one of the little girls, Billy, goes missing, and she's later found dead, and her best friend, who is her best forever friend in the entire world and knows her better than anybody else, knows for a fact that what has happened to her, the explanation that she is given, is not a decent explanation for what has happened to her. And so she goes on an investigation on her own, which is startlingly and terrifyingly realistic for a girl of her age, with the limited restrictions that we had as kids in the 90s. And she ends up investigating it herself and getting herself into some situations. And the ending to that book absolutely knocked me off my feet. Just way too much. Obviously, I always recommend The Lost Man by Jane Harper. I banged on about this quite a lot this morning in the stream as well. The Lost Man is set in literally the wild woolies of Australia, the places where, you know, you could drive for a day and literally not see another town. And it's set on some cattle farms. And one of the farmers out there has gone out in the morning looking for his older brother who has vanished. And they find that he has left his fully stocked, air-conditioned and perfectly running car with food, water, etc., walked out into the heat in the outback, has stripped off all of his clothes and has curled up to die on the grave of an old stockman which lies between their two properties. And it's literally the story of why he did that. And it's set sort of over the span of a week on this really claustrophobic, tiny little town where literally the only thing that anybody has to rely on is each other, because you're so in the middle of nowhere. If they don't rely on each other and they don't have an honour code to always help each other, you can get in some serious trouble very, very quickly. And it's the suspicions of this community as to what has happened, and that is, it's very suffocating. It's very good. There's obviously also Sweet Pea by C.J. Scouse, which is something that I recommend so much. It is about Rhiannon. She is a girl, and I think she's in her late 20s, who is in the UK. She works for a newspaper. She seems to have, you know, an average boyfriend, an average flat, a little dog that she loves, a bit of a weird, very relatable obsession with Sylvanian families. Let's just say if I had infinite money, I would have a Sylvanian family room. And she just happens to kill people who annoy her. Like, you know, the guy at Aldi who bruises her apples and squeezes her bread and leaves finger marks in it. And oh, that's a wild ride. That is a wild ride. I'm not going to tell you anything else about that. I have more niche ones. Those are the ones that I recommend literally off the top of my head. I have the first lot, Wooden Quobook. Sarah, pick it up. I'm so sorry if I'm just giving you I don't remember, Cara, if it was viewers picked my TBR for that. I can't remember what occasioned me to actually read Fact of a Body, because I had it on my shelf for such a long time before I finally picked it up. It was one of those books that I was waiting for a rainy day. Like I was like, I am going to keep that for the perfect time. I don't know why I do that. I'm trying to break my habit of doing that. Yay, Lauren, you love Dead Girls. I decided to read Sweet Pea last year after Leanne's video, but it was so shocking and so comical. Oh, honestly, I read that book, and I'm going to blow my nose, guys, but I promise nothing's wrong. It's just a cat here. Okay, we're good. When I read Sweet Pea, I literally I sat there after and I was like, oh God, this person was in my head for this entire book. I also felt that way about a mental health memoir that I read a couple of years ago. Bugger, what is it called? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. That's it. Big Mushy Happy Lump. Big Mushy Happy Lump. And it's about Sarah Anderson's life, so it's her own drawings from Sarah's scribbles. And she has basically written an entire book about what it is like to be an introvert in an extrovert's world. And literally every comic I was like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me too. Oh no, that's me. Oh, we in trouble, girl. We in trouble. Somebody has put a CCTV camera in my head. Yay, Sylvanian families love it's one of those things that if I have infinite money, if I ever have infinite money, I'm going to have an entire room of Sylvanian families, tiny setups. Recently, in the last couple of years, this is terrible, should I admit this to you? I'm going to tell you anyway. In the last couple of years, one of my guilty pleasures when I should be being productive is watching toy unboxing videos on YouTube and vicariously living my childhood self through them. And a lot of them have been Sylvanian families. That is all I am saying. Never heard of Sweet Pea. Oh, you need to look it up. Lost in an email to one of my bosses about training. Forgot about this. I'm stressing, so thankful you're still here. Don't worry, Amy. How long have we been going? We've been going for an hour. We're probably going to be here for another hour, so you haven't missed much. Oh, thank you, Lisa. That's really sweet. I'm still catching up with your comments. It's still quite funny to actually see this view, this like extended view of my bookcases. I'm like, you can also see my plant hoarding shame. I make dolls in dolls' rooms. It's all good. If I didn't have dogs, my spare room would definitely be a doll room. It would definitely be a doll room. Who wrote Sweet Pea? CJ Scoose. You can find it if you go to my Goodreads. You'll be able to find it in my red books. Toy unboxings. Oh, Emma. Okay. So I'm going to give you a channel recommendation now. Let me just find it for you. Ellie V Toys. Ellie V Toys. She, in fairness, I think she's a teacher and she has 2 small children, I think, so she does get sent a lot of things, but she also builds up a lot of the little Lego sets. And girl, I spent a lot of time on her Sylvanian Families unboxing. Like a lot of time on that playlist. I spent too much time on that playlist. Got a copy of Assassin's Apprentice today from Amazon. Yes! I am very, very pleased to hear that. Hi guys, we're just turning up. Oh, Rachel, I have a plant obsession. I need to stop. There is a studio vlog actually on my channel where I individually took out all of my plants to water them and brought them all back in. And can you see this ivy trailing behind me? I've had to hook it around another plant because it actually touches the floor. And I'm just, it's my baby. I love books, I love plants, and I love cats. Also dogs. Too many things. I love too many things. Hi Rachel, I'm glad that you managed to make the stream. So many people were worried that I wasn't going to be here. Don't worry guys. Anytime I stream, I'll definitely stick around for like a couple of hours so that you've got time to drop in. And also I have discovered that if the streams are under 12 hours, I mean, I love you. I don't think I love you 12 hours that much, but like if the streams are under 12 hours, YouTube saves them automatically. And so I've made a playlist on the front page. If you go to my channel page, and all of the live streams will be available for you to watch back. I'm going to try and do this probably the next one next Saturday rather than Friday. Just because next week is Lovely Wife Helen's birthday week. It's a big birthday. Lovely Wife Helen is 50 on Monday. And I'm going to be spending pretty much the week spoiling her. Oh, plant killer, I know. I always say that plants are actually the step up from animals because animals can at least give you some indication of what they want from their life. And with plants, it's just like, I'm fine one day. Oh, I'm not fine anymore. I always feel so much worse killing a plant than I do. Can I always ask something? I've always wondered if it's not too personal. How did you and Lovely Wife Helen meet? I love that you did Lovely Wife Helen abbreviated. Okay, so Lovely Wife Helen is a driving instructor. And actually there's do you want a soppy story? You guys okay with me talking about a soppy story and not books for 5 minutes? Definitely a 5-minute long story. I thought it's out already. I'm just still catching up with here. I kill plants or the cats eat them. Oh, so that plant that's wait a minute. Bad spatial perception. That plant that's up there and the plant that's there are actually like little trees and they're beautiful. And I discovered that they're actually toxic to my cats. So now they can't sit on my desk in front of me and they have to sit up there instead. And it's very sad. Yes, please give us the romance. Okay. So Lovely Wife Helen and I have been together, I think 10 years this year, maybe. And so Helen had just started up her job as a driving instructor. So Helen's English, she comes from Felixstowe and she had moved up here for a previous relationship and she had just started up her franchise for the first time. It was being a driving instructor was one of her dream jobs. So in the January, I lost my papa, my granddad, who, for various different reasons, was the biggest influence on me in my childhood, and I'm getting emotional. I loved him to pieces, and he was the biggest, most important person in my universe, right? So he passed away in the January, both after a long illness and quite suddenly, and so it was a really weird coming to terms with things time. And just before he passed away, my papa for Christmas had given me money for my first driving lessons because I had put off for like my entire life driving. The idea of it scared me. It just totally terrified me. Not the actual driving so much as the other people on the road. And I was really scared. But I thought, you know what? It was the last thing that he wanted me to do. He wanted me to be independent. And so I went on to, I'm not going to give like specific details, but I went onto a website wherein driving instructors offer lessons, and it's a kind of a roulette wheel. It's like whoever is the next person in the queue in your area to get a new pupil will be offered you as a new pupil. And so I went on, I put in my details, and I matched with Helen. And so I've recently told her this story as well. She didn't realise this. So she rang me up, and I could hear puppies barking in the background, and I could hear a really, really, really toffee, posh English accent. And she was like, I'm just going to walk and get my diary. And she was very brisk, and I could hear her walking through this house. And I was like, oh my God, she lives on a farm. She's a really posh, rich English lady, and she lives on a farm. She can't be my driving instructor. I'll drive her up the wall. I never stop talking. And so, long story short, Helen turned up, and I've never been a person who's been much for the love at first sight thing or the fate thing or anything like that. But from the minute I saw her, I knew that she was going to be special to me, and within 3 lessons we were dating. Believe me when I say this is not normal protocol for having a pupil. Oh, I'm getting emotional. And I firmly believe, in a very strange way, that I lost the most important person in my life with my granddad, and then I gained the new most important person in my life with lovely wife Helen. So that is the story of lovely wife Helen and I, and now I'm crying on stream, and it's all your fault. My mum would love you. Love dogs, Leanne. Sorry if your name is that. Don't worry about spelling my name wrong, Rachel. My name is spelt very oddly. I blame my mother for wanting to be individual. Apparently, the year that my mum and dad adopted me, there were a lot of Leannes, like an awful lot of them. And so my mum was like, I am going to give her something individual. And she started years of childhood trauma with me not being able to get my name printed on hats and stuff like that. So driving along in my automobile. I've never thought about that before. Oh, it's going to be stuck in my head now. Oh, I'm crying. My mascara is going to be around my chin. Oh, you're all so sweet. You're all lovely. Yeah, we do all need a good cry at the moment. You're right. Thanks very much for doing that. I'm kind of glad that lovely wife Helen's not in the chat comments this time around, because she would probably be like, I met my boyfriend during a NaNoWriMo write-in. Oh, that's amazing. Right, so I've got a question then. Here's my next random question of the day. So we all know that we're reading during this strange lock-in that we're all in at the moment. What else are we doing? I have heard of some people who are thinking they're gonna, and this is no shade, if all you can do right now is do happy things for your brain. This is just because we're all locked in our houses does not mean that you suddenly need to turn into Shakespeare and write King Lear again. Do you know what I mean? No shade if what you're doing right now is sitting in your pants watching Netflix. I stand sitting in your pants and watching Netflix, but only if you're eating chocolate. But what other stuff have you guys picked up? Because I am finding, I'm looking at my hallway and I'm like, I'm going to paint this. I'm going to paint this really soon. Lovely wife Helen has got a hashtag. Oh my God. Whoops. How did I do that? Oh, you're cross stitching. Oh, that's what my mum cross stitches a little bit obsessively. She gifts us a cross stitch thing every year, and I'm like, Mum, I've only got so much wall space, girl. You gotta have to slow down. You gotta have to slow down. Baking and writing a gothic gay romance. Oh, Anthony, if you need somebody to beta read it, I'm here, honey. I'm here for that. Teaching my students online via email. Oh, Rachel, that is so difficult. So many of my bookish friends that seem to work in, like libraries or schools. I have a disproportionate amount of bookish friends who are also teachers, and everybody's feeling the strain of having to move to online learning. I did my degree online whilst also working full time, and as a student it's stressful, so I can only imagine what it's like to be having like 20 odd pupils that you have to reply to emails from. Colouring, that is a fantastic idea. Taking care of my dad who's on home hospice. Oh, Laurie, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's a really difficult time as well if you can't have people popping in because he's vulnerable. Oh, my love, sweetheart, that's horrible. Crocheting, I've never got the hang of crocheting. So I knit. I have knit. Let me see if I can find one. I sell knitted bookmarks in my shop. Oh yes, okay. So I've got some house. There's some house bookmarks here. There we go. Let's turn them the right way around so they look better. There we go. So I knit bookmarks for the shop, and I've recently just started experimenting with lots of different patterns, and so now I'm knitting a scarf at the moment for Simone from Me, Simone and I on BookTube because I'm like, you can only have so many scarves. You know what I'm saying? I can't make any more scarves for myself. Animal Crossing, there was a lot of Animal Crossing on my first stream this morning. Lots of people, when we did our little reading sprint, ended up reading playing Animal Crossing instead. Oh, Sarah, reorganising your shelves. That's see, theoretically, I'm like, oh, it's a cat. I was like, why are the curtains moving? Theoretically, I'm like, reorganising my shelves. That sounds like a great plan. Then I actually start doing it, and then I decide, not so much. Would you like help coming out from behind the curtain, kitty cat? He got himself stuck. I'm doing that mean thing where you tickle a dog's paw hairs till they notice. That's it. I don't know if we can have that kind of cruelty on my stream. Still where I work is open, so I'm doing work as usual. Wow. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are finding that their employers, while previously sympathetic, are not so sympathetic anymore, and I can understand it from everybody's points of view, but if you are somebody who employs people, then you have to look after them. Where in Scotland am I located? I am in the Lothians. I am smack bang between Edinburgh and Glasgow. They're both about 20 minutes either side of me. I'm originally from Edinburgh. Oh, spring cleaning. Solid plan. I need to stop reorganizing things. So Sims, okay, so yep, Sims, yeah, I feel like I'm being called out right now. I really am. I've also been playing a lot of Stardew Valley. If any of you guys are, oh Emma, do it. Buy Stardew Valley. It's the best 10 quid I've spent in my entire life. I have 100+ hours in the one particular save file I'm in at the moment, and I haven't run out of side quests. And from looking at YouTube videos of it, I don't think I'm going to be running out of side quests anytime soon. I feel like my mascara's now around about my chin because you guys made me cry. I'm going to be telling everybody that now, just so you know. My stream made me cry. I am on Instagram, Valerie. I am Novel Menagerie on Instagram because it is the name of my small business. I will type it in the chat for you guys so that you know. How it's spelled. That's how it's spelled. I post on my actual grid. I mostly post products and things like that now, but in my stories I ramble on quite a lot, so I'm definitely there. 20 minutes either side. I can't get to the other side of Brisbane in 20 minutes. Oh, we are so much smaller here, girl. I can get to a coastline in 40 minutes. I can get to a coastline on either side in 40 minutes. I can get to sea on either side in 40 minutes. Did you ever work for a bookshop, Leanne? I did. I did work for a bookshop. I was a bookseller for a year. We're from Edinburgh here, the capital of panic buying in Scotland. Oh, don't start me. Don't start me on panic buying. I've been a bookseller, and before that, for a very long time, I had a high flying corporate career in offices in a very, very basically a panic driven industry, and a very stressful job. And I am glad that I no longer do that. Okay, so I have another random question for you guys. What is the next book that you're planning on buying? What is the next book that's in your Amazon cart or at the top of your Goodreads to buy list? I'm going to tell you a couple of mine, which I helpfully have on my phone. Little shout out to Peaky Blinders Arthur Shelby here. He's getting me through the hard days. Let's have a look at my wish list. That's the wrong one. That's the one we don't give to people. Okay, right, so a couple of things that I am thinking about buying right now is Midnight for Charlie Bone by Jenny Nimmo. So this is a middle grade fantasy, which is the start of a series, and I'm going to read you the blurb. So it says, since his father died, Charlie Bone has lived with his mother and her mother in the house of his other grandmother, Grandma Bone. Looking at a picture of a couple with a baby and a cat, he suddenly discovers he can hear their voices. Although he tries to hide his new gift, Grandma Bone and her scary sister soon find out and send him to Bloor's Academy. Charlie quickly finds life at Bloor's pretty tough, and its strict rules and the malevolent head boy Manfred set against him. Manfred's a great name. When Charlie discovers that the child in the photograph is being held hypnotized against her will, he and his new friends with gifts try to awaken her, but can they overcome Manfred's sinister hypnotic gifts? So again, middle grade is very much the thing that I want to be doing with my time right now. So that one is pretty much top of my list, I'm not gonna lie. And then, where is it? I'ma find it. And then I've got this one, which is a recommendation that I got from Jean at Jean's Bookish Thoughts, The Queen of, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Iflaria, by Effie Calvin. And it's a novella. The only thing that stopped me from buying it is it's like the Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire. They're really small books and they're really expensive, but you know, Princess Isophia of Rhodia and Crown Prince Albion of that place that I can't pronounce have been betrothed since they were children but have never met. At age 17, Isophia's journey to that place I cannot pronounce is not for the wedding she always expected, but instead to offer condolences on the death of her would-be husband. But Iflaria is desperately in need of help from Rhodia for their dragon problem. Dragons, very Jean. So Isophia is offered a new betrothal to Prince Albion's younger sister, the new crown princess Adele. But Adele has no plans of taking the throne, leaving Isophia with more to battle with than fire-breathing beasts. So I'm all about the fantasy right now, all the freaking time. And those are the two that, apart from, I did a video very recently where I asked you guys to vote for the two books that I was going to buy off of my wish list. So I'm going to total that up very shortly and purchase them and read those. But those are the top two books that my brain is like, buy these right now. Hi, Simone. Oh, thank you for popping on, honey. I hope you're feeling better. I love you too. Let's have a look. Oh, Cara, Cara was saying there while I was talking about books that she lives in an apartment and her neighbours are really considerate. They have parties in the courtyard that go past 3 a.m. with yelling and music and swearing, etc. So here's the thing. My neighbours have lived in the house that's physically joined onto me, as in like that wall right there. They have lived here for like 5 years, and pretty much every weekend for 5 years they have done DIY. That's drilling and hammering and attaching things to the walls and building things. And there's definitely been some like ripping out of things. I pretty much think at this point that they have remodeled the entire house, and I have no idea what they're physically doing anymore. I have no idea. Right, let's see. I have an uncle from Oregon who can't believe the scale of Scotland. Is your whole country made for munchkins? Oh, Tony, The Borders is beautiful. Oh, I've never read any N.K. Jemisin. I can't remember the name of it. The first one in her really famous trilogy. I had that one on my shelves for a long time and ended up giving it away because I was like, I'm just never getting into this. I tried it a couple of times and I just couldn't get through it. And I'm really sad about it because everybody really, really loves N.K. Jemisin. I'm not supposed to buy anything for a few months now, so must not be thinking about this. I'm sorry, Morgan, that's so mean. But hey, remember, there are so many libraries that do online apps. Unfortunately, my library is rubbish and doesn't, but there are many, many libraries that do online apps, so borrow all the stuff. Marilla of Green Gables. Oh, Valerie. Is that one of like the Anne of Green Gables books? I've never read. I'm exposing myself now. I've never read the Anne of Green Gables books. The Cat book by Holly Black. The White Cat, the one that I was showing earlier. Wait a minute. Try and not knock over the iron boot. This one? You going to buy this one? I advocate buying this one. It's a very good book. It's a very good book. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. So I talked about this, I think it was on my Patreon's live stream that we did yesterday. I've never actually got all the way through a V. Schwab book, but I have Vicious on my shelves, and I know that people are obsessed, and I need to actually do that at some point. The new Hunger Games book. Is everybody looking forward to the new Hunger Games book? I feel very conflicted about the Hunger Games books. I really loved the first one and couldn't get through the second one, but loved the movies. Is that sacrilege? Should I not have said that? Oh, you're reading the Harry Potter books for the first time. Oh, now that's envy right there. Every time, do you know what's funny? People have said this to me a lot, like, I'm reading the Harry Potter books for the first time, like whisper, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I would love the joy of reading the Harry Potter books for the first time over again. That being said, so here's another random factoid about Lovely Wife Helen and I. Lovely Wife Helen actually proposed to me in the Harry Potter studios in London, standing on the bridge which was used to film the scene with Lupin and Harry in Prisoner of Azkaban. So we were on Lupin's bridge. And I spent the entire day being really annoyed with her because I'm like, why are you squirrely? What is wrong with you? You're being sneaky about something. What is it? And at the point that we got to the bridge, I was so hacked off that I was like, just take pictures of me on the bridge. Just right here, take a picture. And I turned around and she'd gone, and I was like, where is she gone? And then I realised she was on her knees proposing, and yet feel eternally bad for that, but it was a really nice proposal. I'm not allowed to order physical books during this pandemic because delivery services are all clogged up with groceries and medical supplies. Yeah, definitely. Any books that I'm going to be buying for the next little while are most definitely going to be ebooks or audiobooks. I think it's going to take a long time for people to I think the panic buying is going to calm down in the next couple of weeks, because realistically, how well stocked can your well stocked house be? So I do think that once most people have got a stash of the stuff that they feel like they need in, then the panic buying will level off and it will get more normal, and people will realise, oh, actually, okay, there is enough to go around, and things haven't actually changed all that much. And then the delivery services won't be quite so overwhelmed, and we can go back to buying things online like the introverts that we are. The Grown Ups by Marion Keyes. Oh, Lisa, I used to love Marion Keyes. She was actually my first introduction when I was very late teens into contemporary women's fiction. I love Rachel's Holiday. So Rachel's Holiday, in case you haven't heard about it, guys, it's a book about Rachel who has gone to the States and left her very tiny Irish village behind, and she has a group of friends around her and a boyfriend around her, and she has a growing addiction problem that she doesn't actually think is a problem, and this goes on for a really, really long time, and eventually she's shipped back to Ireland when she loses her job and her boyfriend and her friends. And it's really the story of how her tiny Irish family, who have no real interaction with the outside world, deal with this addiction problem that she has, and how she eventually comes to terms with the fact that things from her childhood and from her recent life are not quite the way that she saw them in her head. It's a really, really good book. I also loved, you remember, I think it's called Angels by Marion Keyes. So Marion Keyes' books mostly all follow the Walsh family, so it's one particular Irish family, and it's all of the sisters and sort of the offshoots of those. And I think I'm right in saying it's Angels, but either way, one of the sisters goes to America and leaves her entire life behind, and she ends up in LA, and she gets accidentally swept up by the LA culture, like the waxing and bleaching and tanning and so many other things, and it causes her to kind of evaluate her priorities in her life, which for a very, very long time had been on a big event that she was unable to fulfill, and I'll leave it at that. But I really, really like Marion Keyes, or I liked Marion Keyes. I wonder how they would stand up to being reread. What else are you guys buying? Oh yeah, I like that Charlie Bone's a good choice. Okay, I think that's good because I hadn't actually heard anybody recommend it. It was one of those things that I spotted, and I was like, it sounds amazing. Oh my god. You want to come up? I've got a kitty that wants to come up. This is Kiwi. She's a little bit older now, so she struggles to get on the desk on her own, but she does like to hang out here. Don't block the microphone, that's rude. Kiwi is... Are you 13 this year? I've been through this discussion with you very recently, lady. I think she's 13 this year, but she's been through like every one of my big life events with me, and she's pretty much she's over everything. She's over life. She's been over life since she was 3, though. Don't worry, it's not a. Can you maybe not? Okay, that's nice. Thank you. Loved Rachel's Holiday too. Oh, there's a movie. Really? Oh, so it's similar to it, and it's not a movie of Rachel's Holiday. It's just very similar to it. Okay. Have you ever read Women Who Run with the Wolves? I haven't, Jonathan. Tell me. Are you blocking the microphone? I mean, you're cute, but you're a poser. You're cute, but you're not that cute. Can you maybe move? Because Mummy doesn't want to move the microphone again because last time she broke the sound. Okay, well, you've sat down, so I'll give you that kitty. She's so pretty. Yeah, big mood. Definitely big mood, Tina. We recently lost one of our cats just 2 weeks ago now. That feels really unreal. A lot of things feel like they've happened in a really like close space of time. Tyke, and he was we adopted Kiwi and Tyke basically at the same time. So she's a bit clingy right now as well because I think she's missing her brother a bit. Your next purchase is nothing to see here for your book club. Oh, so we're doing a book club over on Patreon right now, and we're about to pick a thriller for this month, and it'll be the first time that I've run a book club, and so I feel kind of a little bit responsible for anything. Do you want to hit? Do you want to go down? Want here? I have to give her my leg to give her my leg as a bridge to get down. It'll be the first time that I have read a book in a book club that I'm running, so I feel a little bit responsible for whether or not everybody ends up liking the book. I'm over everything. Yeah, Tina, we're all over everything right now, I think. Your fiance's cat is 20 this year, Tony. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, Rachel, I'm so glad that you had time. Oh, I'm so glad that you got the chance to join in the live stream, and I'm cross fingers that your husband's feeling okay after his dialysis. Stephen Fry is great on audiobook. He reads the audio of his own books, Mythos, and it's wonderful. Oh, we had a debate. We had a debate about whether you were a Stephen Fry or a Jim Dale fan for the Harry Potter audiobooks. Do we have opinions? I promise my son, as soon as this is all over, he can have a dog and a cat. You see that? I think we're all at that point where we're like, okay, do you know what? If we get through this okay and we're all right, we're going to let ourselves do all the things that we always wanted to do. Oh, thank you, Malin. Yeah, losing Type was really difficult. He had a lot of health issues, including irritable bowel disease, and it was a difficult decision in the end. But he was diagnosed with diabetes, and we couldn't really get on top of it, and he had a lot of weight loss issues, and he was the biggest snuggliest boy, and he just wanted to be cuddled all the time, and he was no longer happy with like being held and being cuddled and things like that, and we knew that we had to make a choice, which is, you know, it's never the choice that you want to make, but at the same time that's what we sign up for, I guess, when we take them. And it was the best thing that we could do for him at the time. So yeah, it was really sad. But we have Kiwi, and then I've got, okay, so here's a little quiz for you. So one of our cats is called Miss Marple, and I guess we can guess where that comes from. But the other one is called Fitz. Does anybody know where that name comes from? And then we've got Grissom, and we've also got Munch, and those two are also named after characters in very popular franchises. So let's see if you can guess where those come from. And then we've got Nimbus and Padfoot, but I don't think I'm giving you any points for them. Monopoly was 13. Tyke was 13. Oh, I love that we're like divided here. Jim Dale or Stephen Fry. Jim Dale is great, but he cannot compare to Stephen Fry. That's interesting, Anthony. The one thing that bugs me about Stephen Fry's audiobook narration is that he makes everybody sound like they're 70. And I'm just like, why? I know that Lupin's been through a lot of things in his life, my friend, but why does it sound like he's 70? Oh, honey, that's horrible. It's always difficult when you lose. You know, it's funny because I've been through this a couple of times with pets, and I don't think it matters if you've had them for 5 minutes, 5 years, or 15 years. It still is one of the worst things. Oh, Fitz. Oh, well done, guys. Anthony and Emer, Fitz is from Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. He is indeed. And he's probably sitting behind me somewhere wondering why I keep saying his name over and over. Fitz is from that, but and let's see, what about Grissom? Did anybody guess? Grissom is from CSI, and Munch is from Law and Order. Well done, guys! I'm really impressed. Okay, so here's another thing. I have another random question. So I was talking to a booktube friend the other day, and I can't tell you much more than that because we're going to do a little project with this. And I asked for book recommendations out of my comfort zone, and it turned out that she had quite a lot of book recommendations that she had wanted to give me outside of my comfort zone for a very long time, because I'm quite a voracious reader. So I read fantasy, I read mystery, I read thriller, I read crime sometimes, I read classics, I read memoirs and like other social justice non-fictions, I read middle grade, I read YA, so I read lots of things, but there's some things that I don't read, and it's literary fiction. So I don't read a lot of literary fiction, and I don't read a lot of contemporary YA, and I don't read a lot of romance, and I definitely don't read a lot of historical fiction. And I'm sure there's some other things that are outside of my comfort zone. So if you could recommend me one book outside of my comfort zone that I must read, what would you guys recommend to me? And you may discover Grisham. Yes, sorry, that's my accent. You have no idea, guys, how much I tone down my accent when I am talking to you. When I'm talking to you or doing a video, my accent is very different from the accent that I have when, for example, my dad's on the phone. Lovely wife Helen does occasionally come into the room and she's like, "You were talking to your dad, weren't you?" I'm like, "Oh, have I gone Scottish again?" Dear Edward, whenever anyone asks me for recommendations, I give them a text. Well, it's like, I'm bursting. Do it. Give me all of the recommendations. Lanny by Max Porter. Okay, hold on. I'm actually getting my pen and paper, and I'm going to write down some of these so that I can actually check them out. Okay, so Dear Edward. And then Lanny by Max Porter. I'm going to check some of these out. Pillars of the Earth. Oh God, Sarah. It's so big though. Okay. It's so big. Just one. Poldark and Shardley. Mopple, how did I know that you were going to go for Poldark? How did I know? My grandma. Oh, Friedrich Bachmann. So a few people have told me to check out Friedrich Bachmann before, but I don't ever think that particular one. Okay. Luckily, I know shorthandy. Oh, Company of Liars. Originally from Motherwell. I used to work in Motherwell for a really long time. Company of Liars will be a very pleasing suggestion to lovely wife Helen, who has been trying to get me to read that book since we got together. Lanny, I'm reading Lanny right now. It's quite good so far. The Butcher Boy. Okay. You may find that these suggestions end up somewhere. That's all I'm saying. The Witches by Stacey Schiff. Ooh, that sounds up my alley. Yes, I have Jade City. Don't worry, I have Jade City written down. I went back through the chat. Wow, somebody got an accelerator for their Christmas, apparently. Oh, All the Light We Cannot See. That one will not please lovely wife Helen. She read All the Light We Cannot See, and she promptly told me to take off my TBR. But you know what? We're all different. So what else have we got? second Friedrich Bachmann. Yes, Company of Liars. Oh, there you go. Lovely wife Helen is now in the comments. I did wonder if she would pop in at some point. Ooh, Sarah, Sex and Punishment is a history of sex and punishment and the injustices since ancient times. Girl, you do know how to give me a recommendation. FYI, Sarah, please put your handle for your Instagram in the chat. So, Sarah in the chat has a wonderful Instagram and she reads a lot of historical non-fiction, like a whole freaking lot, and she is wonderful. I have had so many random book recommendations from her that I would never have imagined ever picking up in my life. And yeah, she's amazing. So Sarah, please promote yourself in my chat, girl. Owl Killers, and I adored it. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back through the chat because I know that I'm missing some. But I am definitely, some of these may pop up in a project very soon. I promise. Oh, I haven't read Chocolat. That's a good point. Why haven't I read Chocolat? What better a time to read Chocolat than right now? The Binding by Bridget Collins, fastest book I have ever read. Did not expect the plot I got. Okay. See, that's how you sell things to me. So I'm a sucker when anybody talks to me about a book, and I think it's a bookseller thing. I think anybody who can do this with a book should be a bookseller. Where people sell me the one line, like you know when you look in a thriller and there's that one line, like let's just pick up a random one because there'll be one somewhere. I'll have one. There you go. There's a line on the back of this one. This is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Joule. This is a preview of a book that I'm going to haul very shortly. Coming to you soon, a video of lovely wife Helen and I talking about 5 of my newest thrillers to hit my shelves and ranking them in possibility of start order. And on the back of it, so it's got 1 house, 2 families, 3 bodies. And then it says, be careful who you let in. I am an absolute sucker when anybody puts that kind of tagline on a book. That's me. I'm gone. I'm buying it. You don't have to tell me anything else. I've got it. Slightly the umbrella of social justice non-fiction, but not your usual focus. Dark Emu, okay? Oh, Chloe, I have Daughter of the Forest. I actually have that entire series by Juliet Murray on my shelves already. That is a good shout. I only paid a bit of money. Sarah paid me no money for that promo. There you go, Sarah's reading diary. Thank you for putting it in the chat, girl, because I could not remember what your... I'm so bad with people's handles. I'm so terribly bad with people's online handles. My Cat Yugoslavia, okay. I'm loving this, guys. Do you know how rare it is that I get book recommendations for books that I've never heard of? There are so many books in the universe, but whenever I ask for book recommendations, I absolutely guarantee you that what I get is 6 or 10 of the same books that I have seen people popularly enjoy. So here's another question. As I just said, often when I get a book recommendation, it's for books that people are very popularly enjoying right now. And I read a book recently that a very popular book that I did not enjoy. I read The Silent Patient and I absolutely hated it. So tell me in the comments, what is an extremely popular book from the last couple of years that everybody's hype training about that you did not enjoy? What do you have an unpopular opinion on? I definitely want to know about that. Yay, everybody follow Sarah. Sarah's amazing. And she's the sweetest also. She's my sarcastic twin. Tagline for Dark Hunters is Buffy the Vampire Slayer mixed with Sex in the City. Well, I mean, that was a way to get me to buy a book. In the Night Garden by Cat. Oh, I love Catherine M. Valente, so that is definitely a recommendation that I would pick up. Helen, My Dark Vanessa. Yeah, so it turns out My Dark Vanessa, I did not know this, but it turns out that My Dark Vanessa is actually a kind of retelling of Excavation by Wendy C. Oritz, which is a memoir about Wendy's growing up in the San Fernando Valley in the 80s, I think. And she came from kind of a quite forward family, and she was a quite shy girl, and her teacher ended up taking advantage of her, but at the time she thoroughly believed that she was in a relationship. And there has been a lot of news pieces, it turns out, about how My Dark Vanessa took a little bit too much inspiration from Excavation by Wendy C. Oritz. And I didn't actually know about any of this until I posted my video recently where I asked you guys to control my wish list. And Excavation was on my wish list, and lots of people told me about this. So I had no idea that My Dark Vanessa had anything to do with anything else, but there you go. Right, let's see. What else have you guys been hating? I love a little bit of opinions. The Haunting of Hill House. Oh, Tina, I know, right? As I was saying earlier, younger Leanne was very enamoured with Shirley Jackson, and older Leanne read The Haunting of Hill House and was like, girl, what was you doing? What was teenage Leanne doing? It's really not a great... I love the TV show. The TV show is weirdly one of my comfort watches now. Am I odd? I know I'm odd. It's okay. The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Okay, there's an unpopular opinion for you. I am not a Margaret Atwood fan in the slightest. I've read Alias Grace. It was fine, but it wasn't great. I have tried Cat's Eye, and Lovely Wife Helen has tried one of her books that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, and she spent a lot of time just being like, why am I reading this? And I just can't do it. I've tried, but I can't do it. The Night Circus. Oh, there's definitely an unpopular opinion, Tony. It's weird because I think The Night Circus is one of those divisive books where like 80% of people just absolutely fall in love with it, and then there's 20% of people sitting over here being like, but why? But why? You didn't like Bird Box, Maria? Yeah, a lot of people I think struggle with Bird Box because of the sort of real open-endedness of it. There's a couple of very creepy bits in that book that I really, really love, but there's also a couple of bits where I'm just kind of like, you could have done that better. And I like open endings, but I like open endings for characters, and I like the plot lines to be tied up, and I don't think that happens in Bird Box. I think it was the other way around. Oh, okay, Steph. There's somebody else you can be following, Mopple. Steph from Novelty Corner is in the chat right now, and Steph is, she is soothing and she is amazing, and she's just, I don't know, I watch Steph's videos and I feel like I'm doing self-care for myself. She's amazing, and she is saying that she didn't hate but really didn't like Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. That bodes ill for me, girl, because your fantasy consumption is not massively high, and so like if you didn't like it, am I gonna like it? The Outsider was from Stephen King. The Goldfinch, oh girl. I recently talked about this. I absolutely love The Secret History. I have an absolute obsession with The Secret History. I don't really know why. I can't sort of quantify why. I think it's partially that it's a campus novel. It's partially that it has a murder in it that you know has happened, but you're working backwards towards it. And it's, I don't know, there's something about the sort of navel gazingness of it that really appealed to me. It felt very British in a weird way. But then I tried her second, what is it called? Is it the little, can't remember, the one that comes in between The Secret History and The Goldfinch. I want to say The Little Stranger, but that's Sarah Waters. But I tried it and I tried it and I tried it and I tried. I just couldn't, and I hated the goldfinch. So right there with you. Daisy Jones and the Six. See, I think I would hate Daisy Jones and the Six just based on the fact that it was kind of it's based on musicians, and I have a weird thing in books where I'm just like, I don't like anything which is based massively on musicians or on artists, in which the work that they do, the songs and the paintings and whatever that they do is just endlessly described to you, and the feelings that they're supposed to elicit in you are endlessly described to you, and I'm just like, can we stop now, please? Can we stop? What else are you guys hating? If We Were Villains, Laverne. Oh, that's interesting. I have If We Were Villains. Why didn't you like it? Just out of curiosity, I have it on my shelves because people keep telling me that it is like The Secret History, and so I will quite like it. Oh, a very angry face there. Unpopular opinion. Hated Eleanor Oliphant. It's completely fine. That's also on my TBR. That's going to be interesting. Oh, that's the Jessica. That's the first unpopular opinion I've seen for The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Characters were also awful, and the author got mixed reviews on her second book, so maybe it isn't just me noticing problems. I think it's funny as well because I think sometimes what people like about novels is what they could have been as much as what they are. And so sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm being very critical about a book, and I notice that the people around me are like, yeah, but there was also like this and there was that. And I'm like, no, but it could have been that. It could have been that good, and it wasn't. Contrary to some previous recommendations, I did not get along with the binding. Just bad marketing. Don't start me on poor marketing in books. What else are you hating? Oh, Silky didn't like The Hunger Games. Well, girl, the first book made me cry on public transport, but the other two went in the bin. They didn't go in the bin. They went to a charity shop, but you know, they metaphorically went in the bin. Lots of people not liking The Night Circus. That's really interesting. Maybe it's just the 20% that's ended up in the chat with us. Okay, so you didn't like Lemony Snicket. Oh, Tony, that's sad. That's fair though. Hi, Elizabeth. Yeah, we were talking about books that we didn't like. Sarah, you didn't like The Tidal Zone. Apparently, I don't like others called Sarah. I love it. Don't worry, Rachel. We'll be right here when you come back. So, okay, that's the worst book. The book that you guys hated the most in the past little while. What about the book that you loved the most? What is, and so like, let's say in the last couple of years, what is the book that if you could only recommend one person one book, and it can be any book regardless of their taste, what is the one book that you would recommend to everybody to read? I'll tell you mine, even though I hate talking about it, because here's the thing. I'm up for opinions on all things except this book, which is my favourite book in the world. So my favourite book in the world is Eve Green by Susan Fletcher. And it is a coming of age tale about a young girl who grew up in Manchester, and I think it's the early 90s. Can't remember exactly when. She doesn't give like dates or anything like that, but that's the feeling that I get from it anyway, is the early 90s. And she lives alone with her mum in Manchester, and her life is pretty normal. And then all of a sudden her mum dies really suddenly, and she's packed off to a family that she didn't know she had in the wet wild woolies of Wales. She knows nobody. She goes to grandparents who are desperate to look after her and make a connection with her, but who she has never met because her mum was estranged from them. And she then discovers that she's been put into a school which she's not a good fit for, and girls in that school start going missing. And because they start going missing, all of the kids are kind of kept very close, except for her, who has now been put on a farm with her grandparents. And so life on a farm is very different from life in the rest of the valley, and she kind of gets the run of the place, and so she kind of ends up doing some investigating herself. But it's not sort of, it doesn't feel, it's not like a humorous investigating book, or like something like Dead Girls, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's very haunting, it's very gothic in feel, and it's actually epistolary because you are being told about this story from the older Eve, who is now pregnant with her first baby and is trying to explain how they got to the place that they're in now. And I tell people about this book all the time, with the caveat of like, read it, but I don't want your opinion, because it's my favourite book in the world, but I can't actually tell you why it's my favourite book. I read it, I think, in my very, very early 20s, and I'm obsessed with it, and every time I reread it, it gives me the exact same feeling of being completely transported. It's wonderful. I really love it. I've got a cat hair in my mouth. It's just super sexy. Right, let me read what books are your favourites. Let's see. The Little Friend. Thank you, Amanda. I kept calling it The Little Stranger, but that's Sarah Waters, and I love that book except for the ending. But The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, yep, that's the one that I didn't like. I don't think that you're picky, Steph. Actually, Steph, I think you're kind of the opposite of picky, to be perfectly honest. Oh, Cara. Okay, so if you can't get through The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, try David Eddings. David Eddings once very famously cast shade over Tolkien and said that basically his writing didn't make sense because everybody was dead below the waist, and if everybody was dead below the waist, then his characters couldn't have the motivations that they actually did. And he is very much the antithesis of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He's very tongue-in-cheek, he's very bantery, he's great, you would love it. Right. Books that we did like. Let's get into books that we did like. Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Oh, The Name of the Wind, Chloe. Good choice. Lovely Wife Helen would very much approve of that. Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I have that trilogy on my shelves. I actually have this. Here's a bad thing. The third book is actually a signed hardback that I got at an event, and I still haven't read that trilogy, which is really bad. It was the endless stopping of the story to give dictionary definitions that got me. Yeah, Tony, that doesn't get better in Lemony Snicket. If you didn't like that, you're not going to get any better. Truth Witch. I've had so many people tell me to pick up Truth Witch. Does anybody else enjoy that one? Oh dear, right. So it's still on the subject of books that we didn't like. See What I've Done by Sarah Schmidt. Sarah Schmidt is actually a really lovely person. And when I read that book, I don't know. I didn't notice. I mean, I noticed the vomit, obviously, but I didn't notice quite how many vomit references were in it. And then Kirsty, as in a lovely podcast partner in crime, Kirsty, was like, Leanne, it is literally the vomit book. And she counted up how many times people vomited in that book, and I was like, I did not see that. And it's funny because I think it's coloured that entire book for me. And now when I think about it, I'm just like, it's the vomit book, and I don't recommend it to anybody. This Is Going to Hurt was amazing. I have somewhere, maybe I've shelved it now. I have the second one. What is it called? Was the Night Shift Before Christmas, I think. And when Panmax sent it to me, they actually sent the book in a prescription bag, and it came with this pen, which looks like a syringe, which I just think I just thought that was amazing. Like, it was very good marketing. Props to Pan Mick for the marketing on that one. Blood Wedding. I have Blood Wedding on my shelves. That's very promising. Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Everybody should read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet if you like sci-fi. This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel. Ooh, Steph, you need to tell me more about that one. I don't think I've heard about that one before. I'm loving how many books I haven't heard of in this chat. That happens to me so seldom. It's quite old now, but A Little Love Song by Michelle Magorian, who also wrote Goodnight Mr. Tom. Okay, so here's the thing. I loved the TV adaptation of Goodnight Mr. Tom, but I actually haven't read the book because the TV adaptation with John Thorne, it killed me. Like, it hurt me so badly, and I've always wanted to read Goodnight Mr. Tom, but I've never been able to bring myself to because I think it'll just destroy me. Flowers in the Attic. I have Flowers in the Attic on my shelf to reread. I have not read it in a really, really, really long time. Oh, sorry, honey. Well done for Lovely Wife Helen for saying that. The book that I was talking about was Eve Green, the one that I was saying was my favourite book in the world. It's Eve Green by Susan Fletcher. The Chalkman by C.J. Tudor. Interestingly enough, I really liked The Chalkman, but then I really hated, is it Paper Dolls the second one was? I really hated it because it was another one of those really mismarketed books where it really should have been a horror. It wasn't a thriller. And the packaging just didn't sell it that way. And now I'm worried to try out C.J. Tudor's new one because I'm like, is it what it says it is though? I'll have to have people read The Rose Garden by Susanna Kersley or The Bedlam Stack. Oh, I've heard about The Bedlam Stack by Natasha Pulley, but not the Watchmaker. That is interesting. Read this one, but not that one. I like that. Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. I have that one on my shelf. That's Kirsty's Fault. The Help by Karen Stockett. Here's the thing about The Help. Lovely Wife Helen absolutely swears by the audiobook of The Help. She says it is one of the funniest things that she has ever read. So that is a good one. Cara, you're scared of fantasy. Don't be scared of fantasy. Fantasy's good. What is it that scares you about fantasy? Is it the length of the fantasy books? Because I understand why that scares people. Hi Rachel, we're talking about books that we loved, the books that we would recommend to people above all other books. Oh, I think am I caught up? Oh no, I'm not caught up. I was very excited there because I thought I'm not at the end. Good Omens makes me want to ugly cry. Oh, Good Omens. It's funny. The first time I read Good Omens, I was not sold on it whatsoever, and I think mostly I was salty because it wasn't all Terry. But the more I read it, the more I love it. Oh, Blue Nights in the Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion were very special reading experiences. Yeah, I have recommended both. Those are my favourite. Is it weird to have favourite grief memoirs? But Blue Nights was an actual transformative reading experience. I think it's very rare that you read a book and you actually sit back after it and you think this book has changed the way that I look at life. Blue Nights by Joan Didion did that to me. Also, The Fact of a Body by Alexandra Marzano-Lesnevich, as I was talking about earlier, that did that to me. What else? Weirdly, Rob Lowe's Stories I Tell My Friends, which is his first memoir. I don't usually read like celebrity memoirs at all ever, but that one really touched me. I read that or listened to that on a cross country trip on my own in the car. I drove many miles and that was amazing. Yeah, it's very rare that you get those books that change you. The Women in White by Wilkie Collins, that definitely changed all of my reading tastes forever. Definitely a couple of the Poirot books. The Illuminae Files with the audiobooks, because the full cast and effects is a movie without pictures. You are so right, Steph. You are so right. I finished reading the Illuminae Files and then started again on audiobook. Also, if you like audiobooks and you like sci-fi, cat hairs. Wow. If you it won't go away. I got it. Yay, I got it. That was very like I got it. If you like fantasy and sci-fi and you like audiobooks, A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet on audiobook and the subsequent audiobooks in that series are amazing. Are absolutely amazing. Yay! Please read Eve Green and then don't tell me if you hate it. Sorry, Leanne, but what was the one you mentioned before Fact of the Body? Blue Nights by Joan Didion. Was it when I was saying about transformative books? Blue Nights by Joan Didion. How many miles? How far is there even to drive there? Shade, Quota Cakes. Shade. I drove from, you can Google map this, I drove from essentially Edinburgh to Leeds and back in the one day, which was many miles to me for my first trip. The Woman in White scares me. I'm worried I won't like it. Oh, The Woman in White. Okay, so if you like sort of gothic fiction, and if you like epistolary fiction, if you like things that are written in letters or diary entries or anything like that, The Woman in White will definitely be for you. It also has one of the best. Oh, I think we're getting a visit. It also has one of the best villains in the world. Hey, we have a lovely wife, Helen.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
All right.
Have you been doing okay?
Yes.
You managed
Without
without
you.
me. you put up with being without me. Okay, so seeing as you're here, you can answer two of my questions before I go. So my first question was a book that everybody else loved that you absolutely hated the mostest of all books.
Easy.
Well, I know what this is, but tell everybody else.
See, I've not actually got to think of the name of it.
Is it the big one? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Don't do it.
That was a really long reading experience for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, after that book, I decided that I was okay to DNF. I should have DNF'd at the beginning of that book, not finished it. Oh my god, it was painful.
What was the other book you mentioned with The Year of Magical Thinking and The Fact of a Body? If you go on to my Goodreads, it'll be on there as on my treasured read shelf, which is where I put all my favourite ones. Oh, everybody's excited. Lovely, my Helen. Were you there when I told them the story of how we met?
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to be sitting downstairs going, So, if you could only recommend one book to somebody without their reading taste being taken into account, if you could recommend one book and make somebody read it, which book would it be?
I've cheated because I've looked at other people's answers.
Cheater, cheater.
And I agree with two of them for definite.
Okay, so what are the two you agree with?
One is A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yes.
And the other I've already forgotten the name of, but it's over there. Hold on.
Helen's not very good with remembering names of books.
And rubbish as it.
You're rubbish.
Hold on, let me go to fantasy.
Did you hear that, guys? She was like, I'm just going to go to the fantasy section. I'll be back. She knows where everything is on my shelf.
Here we go.
Speak up a little bit because I think people are struggling to hear you.
The Name of the Wind.
The Name of the yeah, you definitely
I love
that.
I've reread that at least twice.
So, audiobook wise, is that
Yes.
is that an audiobook narrator that we love?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'll look that up for you guys later. It's The Name of the Wind. For some reason, I keep thinking that's an audiobook narrator that we've listened to narrate a few things. So here's a quick question for you then.
Yeah.
What other audiobooks would you, for the quality of the audiobook, as in like the experience of the audiobook, not just the story, what audiobooks would you recommend? Checking titles on my shelf.
Retribution Falls.
Retribution Falls,
Yeah.
which is a steampunk fantasy novel about pirates, essentially, air pirates,
Yes.
steamship pirates, and
the narrator is fantastic. You know who everybody is just by the voices. You don't need to any context.
he does the voices.
He does.
do the voices. What was the first book that Helen recommended? What did you recommend? You recommended Name of the Wind
And A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. So, do you guys, before I go, do you guys have any questions for lovely wife Helen, seeing as she's here? We had some questions on the first stream. Oh, thank you, Danielle. Danielle says we're amazing.
That's lovely.
We're definitely couple goals. They've been amazing in the comments at filling each other in on titles when I'm doing my Scottish speaking at 40 miles an hour. So any questions for lovely wife Helen before we go? And I promised I did this on my first stream this morning. I finished off with a puppy. So we saw Padfoot on my first stream this morning, so we'll finish it off with a different puppy this time around.
I'll get a puppy whilst you think of questions.
Okay. You can come up with questions for lovely wife Helen while she. Lovely wife Helen is currently picking up the cat food so that the puppy that she goes and gets does not eat the cat food. Can you reach?
Just rude.
Shady. The audio of The Dragon Lords by John Hollands, narrated by John Banks, is amazing. Want to adopt you? Me, I'll bring my own books and mugs. Yes, Danielle, we will. I mean, I'll say yes. We'll see what lovely wife Helen says when she comes back. Want to adopt you. Another amazing audiobook series is the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich, which is narrated by Cobna Holbrook-Smith, who is a Shakespearean trained actor, and is absolutely amazing. Which one did I get? Oh, I got a Nimbus! Mr. Nimbus! Oh, you have to go from there. Try here.
To keep it away.
Right, hold on. Stop. Nimbus. Do I have to pick you up?
He doesn't want to bump into Kiwi.
You're so big. This is Nimbus. He is obviously named after Nimbus from Harry Potter. And he's fluffy like a cloud and fast like a broomstick. So it suits him. And you're just a big lump, aren't you? So there was some questions. Danielle would like to know, want to adopt me? I will bring my own books and mugs.
No more mugs. No. No, sorry, no.
She's exposing me now because I have a mug collection. Tina Marie would like to know, are you feeling better?
Yes, thank you lots. A bit tired, more than I used to be, but so much better.
Yes.
And apart from the pink tint for tonight,
you're not yellow.
I'm not yellow. Yes.
Yeah, you're not minion coloured anymore.
No.
Let's see. Did Helen know that the next storybooks are on Audible?
Yes, thank you, I did. Yes, I have listened to several of them on audio. When I first was introduced to Nick Stone, I actually tried to read them, which for me is difficult, but I persevered because I loved them so much. And then in later years, I found out about Audible, and so I've listened to several of them, but I still want Leanne to read them to me.
She's spoiled. A book that she wants you to read that can persuade you to try.
Oh.
You've got a couple of them. I can think of a few off the top of my head.
One's been mentioned this evening, which is Company of Liars.
Yep.
And you've tried some of them because
I've tried. So yeah. I've still got Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, which I'm going to read. I didn't get to it. Helen picked my TBR a couple of months ago, and I didn't get to that one. but I will still try it because I know that if I don't read it soon, I will never read it, and I do want to read it because you and a lot of other people have told me that I need to. And also, the other one is the Potato Factory.
Yeah, I just remember that one.
Yeah,
yes.
the Potato Factory by Bryce Courtney, which is set in Victorian London.
If that is when British convicts were sent to Australia, then yes.
Yes, and it follows some people who are sent over to Australia. And I didn't get along with it, which was sad. Right, I'm going to put Nimbus down now because he's really heavy. And just like check if there's any more questions for you. I'm up to book 2 of that. Yay, Pansy, Rivers of London.
Yes.
Oh my god, that one needs to beat my Peggy. They would be the perfect couple. Nimbus is his own partner in crime. Nimbus is the prettiest Nimbus in the entire world. I love your family. You're wonderful and all of your 4 kids. Oh, thank you, Melissa. That is the sweetest. Do you guys ever go to the Edinburgh International Book Festival? It'd be so cool to see you there, though I suspect it'll be cancelled this year. Yeah, so we definitely have gone to the festival before. We actually saw Ben Aronovich at the festival, and he signed our Rivers of London books, which was really nice. We went and saw Sarah Winman as well, who wrote When God Was a Rabbit, which is a book that I am also very passionate about, but which is quite a Marmite book, I think. You either really love it or you really hate it. Who else have we seen at the festival? We've seen quite a few people at the festival.
Love Nina.
Oh yeah, Nina Stibbe. We saw Nina Stibbe at the festival, who wrote a memoir called Love Nina,
so
which is so one of Helen's favourite memoirs about a girl in, was it the 70s or the 80s? Nina grew up, I think 80s, yeah. So Nina grew up in a very small town and then went to London, and she nannied for a very eccentric family who were involved in the arts, and
she never nannied before. I had no idea what she was doing.
No, it's a really, really good, it's actually an amazing memoir. But yeah, we do go to the festival, and we would absolutely be happy to meet up with some of you guys there. When all of this is over, we should do a meetup, and we can definitely talk about that once it's safe for us to all congregate. Puppy on the street, and my puppies are going crazy because apparently a lost puppy just wandered past my partner's trying to catch. Oh, I hope that you find its home. I'm obsessed with reading aloud. It's the most soothing thing I do, even if it's only the dog listening. I read to my dogs all the time, especially if I'm starting a new book. I really struggle to start books and keep my attention to get into books at the start, and so I read to the dogs quite a lot. Nimbus is a good couple. The Springer Spaniel ancestry is way more obvious with him than Padfoot. It really is. All of their brothers look totally different, don't they?
Yeah, one looks like a huge Jack Russell.
He's looking at his toys.
Oh, you can have a
Nimbus has a collection of soft toys up here that only he is allowed, because Nimbus does the soft mouth thing that Spaniels do, where they don't rip their toys apart. They just hold them very gently. And all of his brothers absolutely destroy soft toys. So literally on my radiator over there, there's just a line of, you can hear him squeaking now, there's just a line of Nimbus soft toys. Oh, sorry honey, you're having a hard time hearing me. It's probably because I'm leaning away from the bloody audio. Is that better? Yeah, it's time for bed for us as well, guys. So we are going to sign off. You probably can't hear me over the squeaking dog toy now, but we're going to sign off. It has been absolutely amazing talking to you tonight. We didn't even do any reading sprints. Reading sprints. We didn't even do any reading sprints, but we've been here for like 2.5 hours. So thank you so much for turning up. You are all amazing. I've had such fun. I will definitely, if you guys have enjoyed this, schedule one of these maybe for next Saturday. And I'll probably try and do one in the morning and one in the afternoon again. And we'll maybe do some more reading sprints, and we'll do some more random questions of the day games. But he's so obnoxious with that squeaky toy. It has been so nice to see you. I'm so glad that you've enjoyed it. I will do it again, I promise, guys. Tomorrow I will schedule you. If you keep an eye on my channel, I'll schedule next week's live stream. and you can set a reminder for it, and then you'll know when it is. We're saying bye to you too. She's such a good girl. Are you going to make me tea now?
I did offer you tea, but you missed that comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. She offered me tea in the comments and I didn't see it. Make me it now and make up for it. Okay, guys. Everybody stay safe and stay well. And just remember, just like I said this morning to anybody who was there, the news is the news and it's there to sell news, and it's okay that we read it and it's okay that we take in all of the advice that we're getting from it, but then, like a good listener, hold the information for the time that you're listening and then let the stuff that's not a burden for you go, because I think we all need to find our own little islands of calm in this. And it's finite. It's going to get better. It's going to be over. And we'll all still be here to do live streams when it does. So I love you guys very much. I hope that you all have a good night or a good day or a good morning wherever you are, and we will see you very soon.